I was trying to check something, y'all. Let me see. Okay. I'm trying to make sure my phone seems like it's always going off when I'm talking to y'all. All right, everybody. So I'm only going to come through here briefly. Oh, can y'all hear me okay? Okay. Just had to make sure. What's up to my brother out there, DP Rocker, the fam, my beautiful sis, Shawalaya. Oh, seen and unseen boxing. What's up? Oh, y'all are just okay. I'm not gonna do what I did the last live in case anybody was there before. The last one, it was just so overwhelming, and I was just like, I can't. I really can't. But so y'all saw today that we actually gonna be exploring love without attachment. So just think briefly, like when we say love without attachment, what comes to mind? Because when we see that written, if you will, we'll think maybe, okay, love meaning not being just totally immersed. What comes to mind for y'all? What's oh my mommy's here, y'all. What's up, beautiful? AKA Kiki. She gonna get on me later for dropping her nickname. I'll take it though. Um, so anybody that I mean, it's not any right or wrong answer. What comes to mind when we think of love without attachment? You know, do you think about family members? Do you think about spouses, partners, children, a hookup? Tell me more about that, Shawalia. When you say a hookup, what are we talking about? Elaborate for me. I just don't want to assume. Okay. Yeah. Love without attachment. What's up? How are you, Stray Godzilla 22? Blessings to you. Right, right. So that is one way. That's actually typically a lot of the ways that we look at it. You know, when we think of love with attachment or love without attachment. And so then we can feel like, well, if I say I'm not attached, what's up, Kano? Then that may mean that I'm not as connected. But is that so? Or could it be just maybe I am not stating or saying that I may be a possession? Just a different way to look at it. I actually see it both ways, sis, and anybody that's in here. So it was a poem that I came across, and I want to share that with y'all because this is what got me thinking about this topic because I was had never thought about it. I always looked at it the way our beautiful sis Shawalea just shared. You know, everybody that I love, I have some level of attachment or connection to. But I want y'all to hear this. So it's actually by Yasmin Magahead or Mogahead, not sure. And it says, try not to confuse attachment with love. Attachment is about fear and dependency and has more to do with love of self than love of another. Love without attachment is the purest love because it isn't about what others can give you because you're empty, but it is about what you can give others because you're already full. Mm, Yeah, I mean, when I read that, y'all, I was like, because I can see it that way. Okay, I'm gonna take this gum out because I'm also a popper and I will start popping in a second. But um, excuse me. So when I saw this, I was like, I can see where one would potentially say, no. Does it always have to be about reciprocity? What's up, Daryl? Blessings to you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it just made me think, y'all. And I don't know if y'all have learned by now that if something pops up in my mind or I think about something, I'm like, you know what? I want to see what, my family over here might feel about that. So, me personally, right? What also came to me was I love Chris. He's my best friend, he's my lifelong partner. And all of these things, right? He means so much to me. And I'm also aware that if he chooses no longer for us to be in this relationship, this union, if you will, is that not his choice? So then I journey a little step further than that. Let's go a little further. Have you ever been in a relationship like y'all remember your first loves? And when it ended, it was like it was the end of the world. That's how you may have felt. Not saying literally, but that's how you may have felt. That it was just the end of the world. What other attachments outside of people? What about careers? What about material things that we may be attached to? DP Rocker said, love is a dangerous word. I'm serious though, because it can go so many ways. Because then, like Stray Godzilla, I think, was the one that said this. He used one key word y'all have heard me mention a lot, and that's value. So that means that it can look totally different for us all because it can be based on what has shaped us in our worldview, right? So, like I said, I don't ever mind sharing just from experience. So, even my friends, even my mommy, I love my mommy so much, y'all, right? I think the world of my mommy. And I also know that even though I personally would love it to be where she's here forever and ever on this side physically, I know that it's not, able to happen. And likewise for myself. So it actually allows me to be much more present. And that's what it actually put me in the mindset of, y'all, when I read that poem. It was like, so if you're never looking at it as this like attachment, because then that can go so many ways in the way you view the word, then would it not make you even more possibly present with those around you? Let's see what we got in here. I definitely have attachments to my immediate family and spouse. I need to work on that apparently. No, Shawalia, we just have really, this is like just a total conversation. I just want to, hear just what others think about it. So I'm not even looking at it. I haven't even got to like mental health and how I see it and that type of thing or anything. No, sis, you good. Because really it goes back to balance, right? You know, if something is working, leave it alone. If it's not broken, don't try to fix it. So it's just a different way to look at it, y'all. But when you say, I know you said up here, DP Rocka. I don't know if he's still on here, but it's a dangerous word. What's up, Hen Dog, the fearless one? Bless you. Anybody that just came into this live, we're actually exploring what it looks like to have love without attachment. So we could even be attached to cars. Like I said, material things. Okay. Tell me about that though, Hindog. I don't like making assumptions. I always like to make sure I really do understand. Love is not supposed to be unconditional. Okay. So can you just drop something else in there? Or what you say it is supposed to be? There you go, Daryl. I'm not today. Like, okay, I'm trying. All right, I'm gonna bring it back in. Daryl said, "Isn't love without attachment just friends with benefits?" um. So then, okay, is that what you were saying early on, Shawalia? Is that what you were saying, like a hookup, that type of way? And yeah, Daryl, you funny. Hendog says unconditional love means it's overbearing and lacks depth as your character. Hmm. Hmm. That's interesting. I mean, so okay, no, I got you now, Shawalia, but that is too funny. You know, it would take Daryl to just be like, don't that mean friends with benefits? But so getting back to what our brother in here is saying, he says unconditional means it's overbearing and lacks depth as your character. That's actually interesting that you said it that way. Now for me, you know, when I think of unconditional love, I often think of agape love, right? I often think of love without conditions because there's so many people that I love in my life that I have not set any conditions for them. Like it's not the stipulation, if you will, on whether or not I love them. Like I said earlier, you know, I'm not loving with the expectancy of it always being reciprocated. Sure, it feels darn good when it's reciprocated, but let's be for real. None of us always reciprocate the same that may be given. Doesn't mean that we're not kind people, doesn't mean that we're not a loving people. It's just part of the journey, this thing called life and being a human, right? Yeah, so I mean, I definitely understand what you're saying though, my brother. It's just, I guess for me, it's more of the opposite. So like if somebody tells me, you know, I have conditional love for you, then I'm sitting there like, what's the conditions? You know? And you got to know yourself. Like that's really where it starts at, y'all. Like you have to know yourself. I know me and my personality. my personality does not work well when somebody lays all these conditions, or, I need to meet this mark in order to receive love or to receive respect, all those types of things. So, but I definitely thank you for sharing that. I don't know if it's anything else, Hendog, that you had to elaborate on. But no, Daryl and Shawalia, that's actually, you can see it that way. You could say, yeah, we ain't attached, we ain't in love, we just got benefits or whatever. But that's not the way I mean it today. Daryl says, to me, unconditional love is me willing to give my life for that loved one. As Cam said, no conditions. For real, and so unconditional love, just as Daryl was sharing, it kind of is love without attachment in this sense, because it can also be in another sense of, yeah, I'm gonna give you this physical love without an attachment, right? I mean, or a label or whatever. Let's see. My mommy says, I was thinking, doesn't necessarily mean people, but anything that you attach or commit to. That part. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be another person. Because the truth of it, if y'all were able to see where I had posted in that last description, what I said is, how does it impact our personal motivation and possibly stagnation? So if we apply it to all facets of our lives, right? Just in who we are, if we have attachment, like my mom was saying, to things or careers or ego or prestige, right? How does that look? How does that motivate our moves? Hindog says, if you're not growing with your partner, I feel you're being stagnant. It's like water. You can be water, but be in the same place, you become sand. Yeah, easily. Easily. When it comes to that, I definitely agree. Because now, let's flip this too. Because I agree exactly with what Hindog is saying. That if you're not seeing that growth together and y'all are kind of divided, if you will, maybe in values, in goals, could be financial stuff, right? Could be religious belief systems. What's up, Freedom's March? Then there may be a point where you just become stagnated because nobody's moving anymore, right? In any direction. But then getting back to that, it can also be one of those things where, because people do go through things, y'all, regardless of how much love you can give them, regardless of how much you may show up for someone, and this is just elaborating on what Hindog was sharing, that they just may be stagnated in the mind. And at that moment, it may be you that has to kind of help them get out of that space, if that makes sense. I think that comes down to completing your partner and not competing with your partner. Bam. I like that. Completing and not competing. That part. That's real though. And that's an awesome point. Like I said, it's balance, man. Balance can be so helpful for us. And it's not the balance when you think about actually, like, an even level. No, balance looks so different for all of us. I always say what's good for one may not be good for me, and vice versa. And you have to help them when that occurs. Exactly, Hinda. even in friendships, even in with your family. Now, I almost after reading that poem that I shared with y'all, I'm not gonna lie, it put me back to the mindset of, but if we are aware more and we are just kind of checking in with ourselves, could we not maybe just say, am I finding myself to be attached in an unhealthy way? Because y'all are also showing me, where attachment and connection has been positive, right? So then it's like just checking in with self and being like, okay, is this really healthy for me? And I don't mean just like we say, like, my mom was actually sharing that it can be even more than people. But let's now flip this thing on self. Whatever I am attached to, whatever it is, whomever it is it healthy for me? What was I looking like? Where was I at holistically before this attachment? Just a different way to maybe think of it, right? We often talk about just yeah, Stray Godzilla, you know. Hen Dog says you're right because their life is not balanced in a positive way to move forward. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for anybody that has checked out any of my videos before, it's all about balance from me, from my perspective. Even when I'm providing therapy to others, it's about balance because you don't know and understand what your is a good balance for you if you're not even self-aware. So if we're not self-aware, then how in the hell do we know if we have any unhealthy attachments? You know, we might be able to look at everybody else and be like, oh man, they are just attached to having the latest trending clothes or vehicles, you know. Um, they are just attached to social media. That could be another one, right? And we can see everything that they may be dabbling in, and we're like, man, that is not good for them. But what if we check that mirror out and we're like, let me check in with self for a moment and see just, if I'm just attached to some things or people and it's unhealthy for me. What does that attachment bring to the table? Yeah. And everything that's brought to the table isn't always good for us, y'all. I'm just saying. Right. Well, I appreciate y'all. Like I said, it's not for me about so much that, I wanted to be on here anytime. But I did wanted to spend this time with y'all just because I love hearing everyone else's perspective. I love being able to do what we did today and come to like this place of seeing it from various ways, but then getting back to be able to say, man, we also got to be aware of self. Attachment can be healthy and it can be unhealthy. What is the motivation, and are we possibly stagnated in this attachment, right? Oh wow, Stray Godzilla. And you just definitely strayed off with the pimping. Too funny. Anything else, y'all? I really appreciate you all just taking the time out. Like I said, when I saw that poem, I was like, man, I wonder how, my people feel about this one. That is so kind. That is so kind. This one looks a little different though. You know, I didn't go too far into the clinical stuff. And that's a good one, Shawalia. Yeah, that obsession looks totally different. Well, like I said, I didn't go too far clinically in this one. I just kind of wanted to have just a brief conversation with you all, just being honest with yourself and weighing the positive and negative to other attachment. Bam, just like that. Anyway, I'm gonna see y'all in these YouTube streets later. Y'all already know. Typically, y'all will find me, you know, somewhere laughing and so. All right. Praying that you all have a beautiful day. Always give yourself space and grace, and just always keep in mind we're all doing this thing called life for the very first time. So be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself in the same kindness that you're constantly giving others, the compassion that you're giving to others, give to yourself. Blessings.